Alright, welcome back to episode 8 of the Combined Impact podcast. My name is Shadi and I am joined by Ila. And today we will have a conversation on colorism. But before we get into that, we did want to come back on our last episode, which was misconceptions of love, and I guess correct something that needs to be corrected.
And here, I first want to start by thanking my friend for actually pointing this out to me. And that's why, guys, you have to have friends who call you out when you make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. That are not afraid to call you out.
Yeah, exactly. And we expect each other to call each other out.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Huge shout out to you. You know who you are.
Yeah.
They basically pointed out at the part that I was talking about asexual and demisexual and demi-romantic, that type of stuff, that my literal words were, it's not a spectrum. And the fact is, it is a spectrum. What I meant to say, or what I incorrectly said, was that it's supposed to, if you take all of those different aspects by themselves, so asexuality is, of course, a spectrum. You could be very sexually attracted to people, or you could be asexual. Mm-hmm. But if you combine the sexual attraction, sexual orientation, the romance, I guess, romantic attraction, all of that stuff, you end up in a point in a 3D matrix. So that's what I meant with the field. So you end up in a field of you in your totality. So I was incorrect. It is a spectrum. And everything combined ends up not being a spectrum. It ends up being something really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, like you said, it's important to always be clear about these things. Because we're all learning, especially when it comes to gender politics and sexuality politics, these type of things. There's so much to learn. So it's very important to call ourselves out on that.
Yeah, I guess in conversations with friends who also understand what it means, it's easy to just say something quickly and they already know what you mean. But if it's something that's going to live on the internet forever, then try to get it right.
I think that's not the problem, but me and you do have a very specific language when we talk to each other.
Yeah.
And we do often forget we are also recording and putting it out on a podcast. So bear with us, guys.
We'll do better.
We always do strive to be better, and so thanks for that. Almost mentioned her name. But so that was our previous episode. Today, like I mentioned, we are going to be talking about a very complex topic, which is colorism.
Mm-hmm. It's worth mentioning that in this conversation, it ended up being just the tip of the iceberg, because it was the first time that the four of us had this conversation, and there's just so much more to be discussed. So you can definitely expect us to do another episode on this.
Yeah, because we do elaborate a little bit on desirability politics when it comes to colorism in this episode, and it's worth noting that when we talk about colorism, it is way more than just that aspect. It's the attraction. It's so many other social aspects that play a role into that, and we do want to be talking more about this in the future as well on future episodes.
And another thing worth mentioning is, as this is a pretty sensitive topic, or could be a pretty sensitive topic, we do end up talking about some things that might be triggering to some people, so this is an official trigger warning.
Yeah, we do end up talking about colonialism and slavery aspect of how it came to be with colorism.
And of course, part of that is also, the R word, non-consensual procreation. So if that's something that is triggering to you, then when we start talking about the history of it, maybe skip ahead a little bit, or just be prepared for it. We don't linger on it too much, but we do mention it.
Yes. But hopefully you enjoyed this conversation as much as we enjoyed recording it, and let's get into it. Alright, so So to start off this episode, we wanted to firstly, of course, give a definition of what we understand to be colorism and featureism. And the definition of colorism is, in short, colorism is the process of discrimination that privileges light-skinned people of color over their dark-skinned counterparts. Colorism is concerned with actual skin tone as opposed to racial or ethnic identity. This is an important distinction because race is a social concept, not significantly tied to biology. Colorism is a problem that does not only affect the African American community, but it affects individuals of different complexions around the world. Colorism is predominantly present in countries around the world like Latin and South America, Asia, India, and Africa. And of course, we know as well, especially in where we come from, which is the Caribbean, it is definitely a thing, an issue. Yeah, the definition of featureism is also a prejudice towards individuals with certain features and a preference towards those with features that correlate with a set beauty standard. This is a variance as what features are praised in different places around the world. And as we know, we do have a very much leniency towards European.
Yeah, the white European. So anything that is most similar to the white European is considered good or better.
Yes. So, of course, it ties into colorism, of course, too, but it's not the same, but also the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you could make the distinction if you wanted to, but a lot of the times it does go hand in hand. But now that we do have the definitions out of the way, we can go ahead and introduce our guests. I'll start on my right.
Hey!
So
I'm
this
Nash.
is Hey.
Hi, I'm Virgo. No, I'm Nash. And yeah, they invited me to this podcast. I'm actually pretty excited though.
Nice.
Doesn't sound like it, but I'm a visual and performance artist, and yeah, I work with the themes actually, colonialism, and I use a lot of religion type things in my work also, but that's not important for now. But let's go on.
Nice to meet you. And then we have...
Oh, hi! I'm Melody Abreu, also known as Melolelo, and I'm a graphic artist from Aruba who's been living for the past 10 years here in the Netherlands. And in most of my recent work, specify or try to show more diversity in the kind of work that I do, representing the Black culture a little bit more than what I used to.
All right.
Thank y'all for being on this episode with us. Yeah. And we'll get right into it with our questions. And the first question is, when was the first time you heard about colorism?
The first time, I think it was here in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I've never heard of it. Yeah, so it was after it was around maybe the second year that I was here, maybe.
Okay. And how did you hear about it, or who told you about it?
I don't remember who, but it was something no, it wasn't even the second year it was here. I'm lying. It was when I came to Rotterdam, and we had a few classes, I don't even remember about what, and then they started talking about colorism. But the word clicked immediately, like, I didn't need a definition because we were talking about racism, and then colorism came in, and then I was like, oh, okay. That's how you call that, actually.
Okay, wow. How about you?
Yeah, I must say that the word colorism, I just got familiar with it this year. But the whole context of it, I already knew because, I've experienced it through my whole life. Mm-hmm. So when I found out the term, okay, this is colorism, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what I call that. But yeah, now, actually, very recently that I got familiar with the word.
Yeah.
So it's more that you experienced it before you actually knew the definition.
And I sort of knew that it wasn't, that it wasn't racism, but I didn't know what to name it. I knew it was something, and but I didn't know what to name it.
Diet racism.
Yeah. Yeah. The cousin of racism.
Yeah.
Skin tone racism.
Yeah, basically. But for me, it's also the same in that I experienced it before I learned the word itself. And I also learned the term colorism itself pretty recently too. And I noticed it even more when I moved to to Rotterdam as well, to the Rotterdam. I noticed it when I moved to Rotterdam as well, because when we're on Aruba, there are so many different shades of people that I blend in. And when you're in Maastricht, there's only the white shade of people, and I stand out. And in Rotterdam, I also blend in a lot, but when I take pictures with mostly people from the islands, I'm like, oh snap, I guess I am pretty light skinned. I always thought I was kind of light skinned, but on Aruba, I'm kind of light skinned. And here, I'm way more light skinned than I thought I was.
Was it an aha moment, or did you sit on it first and try to figure out what it looks like in your life?
For me, it was immediately an aha moment. Like I said, I was already familiar with the whole feeling, and I guess growing up on an island where so many different skin, like shades of skin color, you're pretty much faced with it the day you're born. It's and it's shoved down your throat like in the telenovelas, in the video clips. I already I already knew what it was, and even in the family, how lighter skin are like often phrased, oh, your skin is so beautiful and everything. So when I finally knew what to call them, like, okay, so that's a new term, a new word. Yeah, that's what it is. So and I think that knowing what to call it has also opened like many doors of like, oh my god, like it's easier now to understand what is happening. And yeah.
So I guess then it's easier to identify when you have the term and you understand what that comes with that.
Yes.
Yeah, for me it was more like I've heard people experience it, but for me it wasn't clear. Like, for example, in the family situation, because actually I was the darkest female cousin.
Okay.
In all my cousins, because they're all mixed and I'm the only one that's darker. But at the same time, my dad is darker than my mom also, and people always, I never considered myself light skinned for some reason.
Okay. Do you consider yourself light skinned now?
Yeah, but that was because, for example, friend keep on telling you, yeah, you look white.
Okay.
But a blanco, but a Blake, and I'm like, what? Me?
Where?
I feel, where?
My nails?
That's it, exactly. But I never felt it, like, also in the family.
Okay.
The only thing that I've noticed between me and my cousins, for example, is that they had, like, how do you call that?
Straight
I had
hair?
kinky hair, yeah, they had straight hair.
Okay.
And pretty much, like, a dark blonde kind of color.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they
So the
mix
colorism even goes to their hair.
Yeah, kinda.
Awesome.
But that's the only thing I noticed.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't like we weren't treated differently or anything like that.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. I think if you've been at the receiving end of being treated differently, then you realize it a lot sooner than if you just happen to come across the definition at some later point and have to figure it out for yourself. Because that is how it was, as I said before, that I kind of figured it out later. Like, oh, okay, so this is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I find it though a bit hard to realize, and I'm going back to where we come from, where, it's so obvious, the way you should look, and it's so highly advertised. And I grew up in such an environment. My mom, I don't want to bring her to trouble. She does sell bleaching creams.
Oh, okay.
But I grew up in an environment where this was normal, but how my mom sells it is a complete different way. When women come to her, like, I want to bleach my skin because I'm not happy about my skin color, she would give them a pep talk about why their skin color is beautiful. So she would only sell you the creams if you actually had like a sun issue that many women have. In Aruba, from working at the beaches, it's something that's normal. So she would like cellular creams as like a sort of treatment for that specific area where you had complaints.
Okay.
So that's I grew up in that environment, always loving my skin no matter how dark or light it was. But I'm familiar with the whole thing.
Now that you're saying that, it also, reminds me of, like, for example, when you go to the beach and then you get a tan, I become pretty dark.
Yeah.
And my mom is always like, hey, vou virar preto, but I always like that comment, you know? I always enjoy it. I prefer to be dark, like I would love to be like my dad. Like my dad has the darkest skin. And I'm like, I actually wanted that color, not the one that I have.
The one that we end up with here.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I love that. But another thing that I noticed also, for example, with the hair again, is that people with indeed curlier hair, my hair is not curly, I have pretty cabelo basta duro. Let's put it like that. I don't like the word kinky, so that's why I'm not going to use that one.
Texture?
Texture either, but yeah. But I do love my hair, but before that, I also chemically treated my hair. Like I straightened my hair. Like it was around, I was 6 or 7.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I asked my mom to do it for me because I was in school, and I had just like nice long hair. But I was like, I really wanted to do that just because I see other girls at school also have that.
That's definitely the age.
Yeah. And it's easier to manage for yourself, but it wasn't the best thing to do. And then I was around, I don't remember how old I was, then I decided to do the big chop. When I was 16, around that age, I did a big chop. And I really enjoyed that. But it was because I wanted locks. That's why I decided to do a big chop. So I can start growing my own hair back. Or not my own hair, but just my natural hair back. And my dad didn't want me to have locks. But my mom was like, I'll just...
Did he give a reason why?
Yeah, he said just because people will stereotype you. Like, people with locks, it's difficult for them to get a job, etc., etc. But I understand that, all of that. And people will put you in a box.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely, that is also part of it, is the darker your complexion, the harder it is to manage, like your hair or blah, blah, blah. And these are constantly the things you hear, right, growing up. And especially I remember my dark-skinned friends back then too, like you said, especially around high school age, they're kind of like pressured to have their hair straight or to relax it or because it looks better, right? It's again, it leans more into the European beauty standards that are shoved down our throats constantly.
In my case, I only relaxed my hair once, and it was out of, not desperation, but it was my mom needing some help in the maintaining of our hair because my sister and we all have a lot of hair. But my mom did that once with my hair, and she regretted it forever because I almost went bald. And I grew up in a very love yourself and own the person who you are, like own that. So I never felt pressure to relax my hair, but I do I often got the comment "mara boca bay."
Yeah. Bem boca bay.
Yeah, bem boca bay. And that was a thing. Like at school, I always walked around with a ponytail. Like even still now, if you want to get certain jobs in Aruba, you cannot wear your hair like I wear it. So that was pretty much in back in the days.
Yeah, it's a whole thing because there's the Google unprofessional hairstyles, and you'll only get black women. And then if you Google professional hairstyles, you only get white women.
But you mean with curly hair you cannot get any?
No, I mean
a lot of jobs.
Like now I have my hair is so long that it disappear a little bit. But when it was shorter, I had a bit more volume, and it was okay. But still, some people would tell me, "Mara boca bay, oh my God, que parrón." You know, that those things referring to my hair being messy and not actually being glorious like a crown that it actually was. Yeah. So at times it really frustrated me. Sometimes I did listen, and sometimes it'll F you. It's my hair and you deal with it.
Yeah, actually now that you say that, I didn't ever... Well, of course I did have people tell me, to brush my hair, but that's because I didn't brush my hair. But on days that I would have it just down, then I would think that it's too bushy, or people would make a remark about it. They wouldn't necessarily say anything that's positive or negative about it, just an observation like, wow, your hair is wild today. And to me, as a kid, it felt like something that's not okay. So I always had my hair tied. I always had it in a, sometimes not even a ponytail. Sometimes it will be in a bun, because I would consider the ponytail to be too wild or too bushy. And in the Netherlands is when I started maybe experimenting a little bit with my hair, not wearing it up all the time. And now I love my hair so much, and especially in Rotterdam, that people just do what they do because they feel like doing it. They really inspired me as well, and I wish I had more people like you around me as a kid, that I wouldn't be thinking like, oh no, I can't do certain things with my hair because people would consider it too wild or bushy.
Actually, when I was a kid, I didn't even care that much about my hair. I don't like to comb my hair. I still don't like. That's why I put locks. But here, actually, there is still a difference right now with my hair, because I don't like twisting my locks either. I like a fro underneath my lock. Like right now, they're twisted, or I interlock them. But I like a tiny bit of fro, and then you will see the locks. I don't like people to see my scalp. I don't like that. I hate it. But I can easily walk around like 4 months with a huge new growth here, without people make any comment, or even people tell me that my hair looks nice. But if immediately when I go to Curacao with my hair like this, my mom or my dad, when are you going to twist your hair? And I'm like, it's not only them, like my grandma also, when are you going to do your hair?
But they didn't accept your locks. They just want you to take care of it in a specific way.
Yeah, they want me to take care of them and just have them always like super neat. But it's also not good for the locks.
Okay.
Like if you keep on retwisting them every 2 weeks, it's too much. Like you can break them down. So, but people don't know that.
Yeah. But what is it about home too that they're so obsessed with the neatness and the looking a specific way? What is it about that we have back home? Because it's such a thing.
Yeah, you need to look nice. You look
representable.
I think that it comes because of the struggle. It's a black island at the end.
Yeah.
And it's often perceived in a very negative way. If you see, like, let's take it back. Maybe this is not relevant right now, but back in the days to Joran van der Sloot and Natalie Holloway, when they made the documentary of the people in Aruba, how we were portrayed there. So I think that with years of many of those misconceptions of how our culture is, I think that with that and that trauma, that people like, you need to look extra nice to show them that we are polished. And I think that like deep down, that's like a reason.
Yeah, I think it's just then to prove to somebody, to prove somebody else wrong when they already are wrong.
I think it's come all the way from colonialism, if I'm not mistaken.
Also,
because during that period, people did not have, especially people of color, they didn't have anything. So you always look
Okay, yeah.
So you didn't have stuff, and then after a while, to look put together, like you needed to buy everything and have everything for you to look good.
Yeah. Even your house.
Even your house needs to look good. You need to look good all the time. Put together, but that's also something that I noticed when I came here. Like, for example, when you go out in Curacao, you always look really nice, put together. You have different outfit for when you're going out.
Yeah, than people already saw me wear this.
Or a house party, or whatever you do. Like, you have different, or when you go into school. But here, people dress like they're going to a party while going to school. And I'm like, why are you wearing high heels? Why are you wearing a whole fuck, like
makeup
also. Like what the fuck, that's how I go to parties in Curacao, not work or school. Like school is just uniform, like a jeans, a t-shirt, or a polo shirt, or whatever.
Yeah, but likewise when you go out, when you go clubbing, then you will see some people who are
sneakers.
Yeah, sneakers or just whatever. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand. So are you trying to impress people at school, and then when you go out, you're just
Just raggedy.
Yeah. That didn't make sense.
No, but
definitely
I
do,
think that a part of that, I mean, in Aruba and Curaçao, you had at school, you have school uniforms.
Yeah.
You don't
Yes.
have that here. So I think that a lot of the reason is the social pressure at school. So they try extra hard to look really cool at school here. Like sometimes I see some girls like, girl, I don't even look like that on a Saturday night. So kudos to you.
Yeah. But like,
So I think that is the social pressure because before we started colegio, I think there was something going on there that it was a lot of bullying going on because of the clothes. So that's
Yes.
why they introduced the uniform.
Yeah, so everybody is dressed the same.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
I genuinely loved uniforms because I was like, I can't afford like new clothes every
Me neither.
time, and like you get embarrassed when you're only gonna wear the same outfits every time,
And then you see
people
your
literally
classmates.
bully you for that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh thank God, I don't have to think about any of this. I'll just wear my uniform. This is perfect. I was a lazy ass teenager. I would get up like 15 minutes like before we leave the house, take a shower. I'm done.
And for me, that always had a uniform. Every time we get a chance to wear something else, I will be like, yes.
Yeah.
At least I can wear like a simple t-shirt.
Yeah,
Like,
but
not the polo shirt that's super warm. Something, something different. But yeah.
Yeah. To come back to what you said though, it does have to do with colonialism, because when you go back to the origins of colorism, it has to do, of course, with when the colonialists just brought African people to the islands, to America. Of course, they were slaves, so they weren't equal to the white man. And when the populations began to merge, you also saw that in the sense of the lighter you were, the lighter skinned you were, the more privileges, literally like even within the government, the more privileges you had above dark skinned slaves.
Wow.
So that is partly where it comes from, and why a lot of people can't seem to understand that why a lot of people benefit from having lighter skin tone, or just basically the proximity to whiteness is what you benefit from, coming from that.
Yeah, I did know about the lighter skinned enslaved people that get to work inside the house, and if you're darker skinned you have to work outside. But I didn't know that they literally also had a different status in the government.
They just have more rights in general, and they were
like,
allowed to do more. They were
like for example, if a slave owner decided to or make a baby with a slave, for example. I don't like to use those words.
No,
but
because
enslaved people with a slave person.
Yeah.
Then
Rape a slave.
Yeah.
Rape an enslaved person.
Okay.
If they rape an enslaved person, then obviously that kid, it's gonna get more privilege because the slave owner is gonna pay everything for that.
Yeah, because
kid.
it's their DNA, it's their
His
However,
child.
in all the cases,
Not all the cases,
not
but
all the
it's-
cases, but
Most of them.
As that is where it comes from. It's that whole, even though you are technically still enslaved, you still benefit in different ways that your darker skinned counterparts don't.
Yeah.
And we still see that to this day in our society, and the different ways darker skinned people do not benefit as opposed to lighter skinned people. But moving on to the next question, have you had any experiences with colorism that had a significant impact on your life? That has changed your life, or like changed your views on certain things in a way, or how you saw yourself, maybe?
Yeah, like for example, most of the time, not anymore, but I always think that people would like for example, in the dating scene, like I always think that someone with curly hair would get someone easier than me, for example.
Yeah. So
because I'm less
basically,
attractive and men are more attractive, for example, men. Or more, if I'm looking for a man then. Men are more attracted to someone with a lighter skin, especially dark skin men. Someone with a lighter skin, curlier hair, apparently they look prettier. Not all times accurate, but
Yeah, but it does affect the way you see yourself too, in a way, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
desirability
For
aspect.
sure, yeah.
But I guess you can say that with many things, also being like a bit skinnier, or like for me, my attitude is like I'm gonna show them that I'm the shit exactly because I am black. Back at home, I've got a lot of backlash for my hair, be it tu bruja, pusha, whatever. But then here, it's often seen as something very exotic. Jullie hebben altijd zo mooi haar and your hair is so nice. So
Can I touch it? No,
can
bitch.
I touch it?
No, bitch. No.
What do you do in your hair? Like, I just let it grow. So in that case, I've experienced it in a way that often my hair has been like a positive thing that people often approach me for.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice that you experienced that. Because there are a lot of people who experience the exact opposite, that maybe because their hair is curly, but maybe they aren't as confident with their hair, then that also comes across. I can't say personally that my skin tone or colorism has ever affected me in any big way. It was also always very low grade, self-reflective. Maybe this had to do with it, maybe it didn't. But when it comes to hair, when I wear my hair confidently, then I get more compliments. But when I don't wear my hair confidently, nobody says anything. But you can sort of tell as well that nobody is impressed or intrigued or interested at all. So it has to do with that as well, like how you wear it.
How did your attitude about skin tone develop throughout your life, particularly in your childhood?
In childhood, I was always very difficult for me because we come from a pretty mixed family, but my mom and my dad were both the darkest of their family. So they're mixed, and we are pretty much a mix between the two. So we're multi-generation mixed, but then in our family we had some cousins that were lighter, some cousins that were darker, so it didn't really come up that much in my family. But when we were at school, again, with a lot of kids that were very mixed as well, but then there was one incident at school where, well, I call it an incident now, but before it was more like okay, that's a weird thing to say, that somebody told me, oh, but you're not really black. And I was looking around in class and I was like, there's only one person blacker than me in this class. So I think, yeah, I do consider myself black. And she kept insisting. She was like, you're not black. You're more like tanned. And I was like, what are you trying to say with this? I don't understand. Is this a compliment? And it's ever since she would say something like that, and she was a very extra person, I would say. And she was also a closer friend. So whenever we hang out with someone, she would make it a point to be like, do you consider Ila to be black?
What?
And I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that this is happening. And they're like, yeah, I mean, kind of. So ever since one person started making it a big deal, then I was like, what is happening? But when other people don't make it a big deal, then it doesn't really affect me as much either.
Yeah, but now that you're saying that, indeed, like, I didn't have it, not in childhood, but right now when I was working at Lush, and then there was this mom and this daughter. They both had locks. I don't know. They seemed mixed, but yeah. Anyway, the mom was like, "Are you mixed?" No, where are you from? I was like, Curacao. Are you mixed? Because you're pretty light. I was like, no, I'm not mixed. My mom and my dad both are black. Mm-hmm. No, but your mom, maybe your mom or dad should be some kind, or you should be mixed. I was like, no, I'm not mixed. Like, why you keep on insisting that I should be mixed to look like this? I'm not fucking mixed. Like, wow. I'm black, but even I have it also with friends. Like, friends always tell me, yeah, you're super light. Like, I'm like, yeah, I know, but the thing is, I don't feel as light as maybe I look. Like, I don't look at myself as light skin at all.
Yeah,
like, you can also say that I feel blacker than I am. Let's put it like that, yeah. So
I've experienced it in a way that when I go back home, I like getting my, like, dark, like purple. Yeah. I call my skin purple. Purple. And how I've experienced this is one stuff here that many white people, white friends, are afraid of telling me that I look tanned.
Okay.
So they look at me in a very obvious way, trying to tell me, you look tanned, but they're afraid of calling me to say that I'm black. So I'm like, what you want to say is that I look blacker than normal. Yes, I do.
And I enjoy that.
Thank you. It's like a sigh of relief, but it's it's the culture of the negative culture around the word black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're afraid to even point it out.
And even if they don't mean it that way, they don't want to offend you because they are aware there's a negative relation to that word. I'm like, I'm black.
Yeah, but it's there is a difference also. Like, I would not like people to call me zwart. But call me black. Call me black, and I also use the
shit. Yeah, same.
Yeah. Also use I also use like this hashtag on Instagram. Also, Hopi Preto.
Okay.
So I really love that word preto and the word black. But zwart, don't even call me that, because I it doesn't have that good connotation. Let's put it like that.
It has that like colonizer tone to it.
Yeah, it has the colonizer tone, and I don't like that. Yeah.
I do feel like now that I never thought of it that way, but like I totally can relate to that.
Yeah, right? Because when Dutch people try to describe me, they would be like, yeah, getint, weer donker, bruin. I'm like, why is that the first thing that you choose to use to describe me? You could say the person with curly hair, or you could just say Nagila, the person who works on this floor, or just like anything. And they're really, struggling, trying different words. But luckily nobody ever says zwart. But I think if anybody were to even try to say zwart, I'd be like, wait, what? Excuse me? What did you say? And if someone's like, yeah, that black girl, I'm like, oh, hey, it's me.
How has your attitude about skin tone manifested in your words and actions, or the absence of your words and actions?
Wow. What a segue.
Can you repeat it? No, I didn't.
How has your attitude about skin tone manifested in your words and actions, or the absence of your words and actions? So, let me explain it. It's basically like, combo attitude about your skin tone. What do you like? Do you notice you speak on it in certain ways about yourself or other people's skin tone, like darker skin tone versus light, and the absence of your words used, and what you don't mention or you don't speak on that world,
I have grown I've always been proud of my skin color. I think I've said that a few times already, but I'm more vocal about it. And especially now that there's more understanding and ways on explaining of why something is wrong and why something is correct or not. So I'm more vocal about it, but also more respectful of other people, because I do not know everything. Not everybody can be approached in the same way. So being so vocal and proud of being black myself, I also try to be very respectful towards other people that might be lighter than I or darker than I am, because it's all about respect regarding that. But I demand for the example that they were afraid of telling me that I look blacker than usually. Like, I demand that, because see my color. See it for what it is. Let's not make it like lighter than what it is. It is black. It is black.
Yeah.
You cannot see me in the dark. You cannot see me in the dark. Let's just,
Oh, I love making those jokes. So when I literally don't show up on pictures, and they show it to the rest. Like, do you guys like the picture? It's like, I'm black as fuck. You can't even see me. Yeah. But everybody else becomes super uncomfortable. It's like, guys, it's a joke, and I made it, so it's okay.
But you're allowed to make it.
Yeah, but if you make a joke about yourself, it's okay.
Yeah.
But if someone else made a joke, like, for example, if someone is insecure about their color, and someone else make that joke,
that's not cool.
It would come over like...
You always have to be as careful as the most careful person in the room. And of course, if I'm sitting with you guys, then I'm also more comfortable just making jokes about myself as well. I don't think I would make jokes about any of your skin tones. That's something I would do with my sister, maybe. But if I'm in a room full of strangers, then I don't make any jokes at all.
No.
And even if all of the strangers are black or the exact same color as I am, I wouldn't make those jokes because I don't know how sensitive some people feel about it or not.
No.
Do you guys make it like a necessary thing to call out certain anti-blackness or or very colorist statements that come across, especially on a rule? Because just thinking about it, one of the first things that comes to mind often is the saying "Daya Rasa."
Yeah.
And that saying, it boils my blood every time I hear it. And in the past, I definitely didn't speak up enough about it, but now I do find myself, as soon as people use those type of terms or anything relating to that, you call them out immediately. But do you guys feel like that's something that is happening enough or should happen more, or do you guys do anything with that?
Yeah, obviously, like, for example, I've heard of that also a lot in Curacao, but they don't use, like, the black is the Daya Rasa, but it's the opposite, like, marry someone pabudrecha família, so you can fix the family.
Yeah.
So everyone that's darker than white, like, there is not even colorism there. Like, everyone that's darker than white will die in Rasa. So that's something, and yeah, I will say something about it, but I've never encountered anybody that told me that
I think
someone told them that, or if they just do that in practice. No.
I think especially because there's definitely a huge there is differences in how these things happen on Aruba and how they happen on Curacao because of the populations that are very much different. Aruba is very much more white.
And very Latino.
Yeah. And because of that, we do experience colorism in those very extreme forms way more.
Yeah.
And those are type of things you hear constantly.
Yeah,
I know exactly. Like, I remember growing up, that was something that was constantly said.
Don't bring a black guy home.
Don't bring a black guy home. My sisters all had black boyfriends.
Nice.
So, they were always welcome, but they were, like, in their mind, they were dañando raza. And they would always say, like, look for a white man or a white lady, that way your child comes with much better hair than you did yourself. That's not true, but okay. I struggled with that a lot because I have a taste for white men. So for me, it was like a bit like, okay, am I doing it because of the pressure of derecha raza, or am I doing it because I decided myself that is something that I like, that I find attractive. So yeah, I grew up in that whole thing. Even when I got my husband, when all my ex-boyfriends, some of them were black, but they never got to meet my parents.
Okay.
But that's a funny thing, because when I was thinking back, preparing for today, and I was comparing my ex-boyfriends, and I had white and black, and actually the black men were most successful than the white men that I dated. So it was really funny to see the contrast there, that actually the dark men that I dated actually had more a well-thought future in comparison to the white guys that I dated before my husband. And so it was really, I'm like, damn, like, they keep pressuring you on dating a lighter skinned person than what you are yourself, not based on your opportunities for a job, not based on your opportunities for a better life, for like stability. They just do it for your looks.
Yeah. For the babies, actually.
For the babies. For the looks,
God.
to look more refined, to look more white, to look more European white.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that fetish is fucking wild.
I never had that. Never had that in the family.
Oh,
Because we are mixed. We are freaking mixed. Like, my grandfather is way lighter than my dad. My dad is super dark. My grandma is lighter than my dad, which is so weird.
How did he?
My dad is the darkest in his siblings also.
Oh, nice. Same.
That's a successful, I guess, like thing in that sense to not have those things be a problem.
Never nobody had
So-
never say anything to anybody about just married someone or get a lighter skinned person. But at the same time, sometimes that's me. Sometimes if someone come with a white person, I'm like, really, you're black? Like in the family, like really, you're black? Can you please just find someone your own color? But that's me though.
But that's also like another.
Yeah, that's the opposite.
That's the opposite of that. Yeah,
It's true.
My experience was also very similar in that it wasn't a big deal, and I've also never been told by my parents to bring home this type of person or this type of person when it came to skin color. They were, or one of them was a bit more elitist in the sense of like, don't bring home somebody with a lower level of education. So I guess do with that what you will, but it was never about race. But when we went to my grandma to visit, she was incredibly racist. She's brown but not black, and like I said, my whole family is like brown, you could say, but my grandma was a bit lighter skinned and my mom was blacker. So when she brought home a even blacker guy than she was, my grandma only called him Mahoso, which is ugly, and that was his nickname for the rest of their lives. He was Mahoso. And we
nickname?
Yeah, like, oh hey Mahoso, how are you doing, or and it was like literally because he was black, he was ugly, or I don't know if she considered him ugly despite his blackness, but she was incredibly racist. So I would guess that it had to do with his skin color. So we did have it here and there, but I think because it was meant as a joke, or she said it as a joke, we didn't really realize how uncool it was. But it definitely sucks to be expected to bring back somebody who's lighter than you are or the rest of the family is to fix the family.
Oh, by the way, going back, like there is this also TV show. This is something different, but in Curacao, and every time like they have different segment, and every time they use like examples. For example, they have a segment beauty and blah 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 numero, and they always choose white people to show looks, hairstyles. Like, why are you putting those people while in Curacao there is so much black people with curly hair or not curly hair, also textured hair, and you're giving these example? Like,
what am I going to do with this?
What am I going to do with that? Yeah, exactly. But I cannot do shit with that.
Yeah, but it's also what it's often shown. You see, but like how many black women were there, like in a telenovela or in a movie? None. So you knew already, like as a black woman, and you see it so many telenovelas, so many women. So indirectly, you're telling a black girl, like, you're not beautiful enough to make it in front of the camera. And that comes with the lack of diversity. That's what it leads to women and even men. I mean, we're talking just about women right now, but it's like that's what you lead to when you leave those people. You don't represent them, and I hate it when the example that you gave, that they use like the whitest person of Curacao that they can find to showcase something that they're
an evil person from Curacao.
Yeah, not even that. And that's often, it's like you see it also on Netflix. Yeah, we have a diverse cast, and you see like
everybody's light skin.
Everybody's light skin. No one has texture hair.
And the only one with like curly hair or like it's like very dense. That you barely see the curls. So yeah, that plays a huge part in that.
I think especially that representation in media plays a huge part in colorism, what we deem to be acceptable. And because like you said, a lot of times, we have a diverse cast, and we have one black person, and that one black person just is a very light-skinned, light-skinned like girl. It's like, listen, this is the same one we mean when we say we need representation, you know? And I think that's one of the things, because that was a topic that came out and recently with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and then that whole revival of what Black Panther as a movie itself meant.
Yeah.
How important that was, because it wasn't only about him as Black Panther, of course, that was huge, but also seeing all these beautiful, like, dark-skinned, powerful women around them who weren't just tokens, who weren't just like you know, always playing the villains or always playing the negative roles, but like these powerful, badass women. And seeing yourself in that light does so much, but we do not have that enough in the media when it comes to darker skinned women.
And I think that's also something that you touched upon, which is Black women are very underrepresented, because if you see a black guy in a movie, it could easily be a dark-skinned black guy. You sometimes have light-skinned black guys, but with women, it's always light-skinned Black women. And if it's a dark-skinned Black woman, it's usually the mean cousin, or again, like you said, the bad stereotypes.
Or for example, even if it is a dark-skinned woman, they, for example, it's not fully that whole package. They or have extensions, weave, the hair are straightened. They cannot be fully themselves.
Yeah, they try to compensate somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wish, for example, to see at least one person with locks. Like a dark-skinned woman with locks, for example.
That would be beautiful.
And somehow it's more lenient towards guys. It's more appropriate when Black men have that on TV, but for some reason
it's not okay for women. Even though there is one woman in the politics in Curacao that has locks. And
nice.
She's dark skin also, yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, that's really cool.
And she's a doctor, so
she has it all.
Boom, 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 boom.
All the
It's possible.
So that's really nice that sometimes you see her at least on TV.
You know, but the issue as well, like company things, okay, we're being diverse because we've casted one Black person. But when you look back and what is the role of that person in the movie is a very
sassy.
It's a very sassy, like it's a very bitchy, like I'm like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, like
snaps.
I'm not always
No.
Like, I just, yes. Yeah. So that's often like those are often the roles that they play, and then I'm like, I always feel troubled. I'm happy to see a Black sister in the movies and being casted, and for her getting the job. However, I feel very offended because not every woman is that way, and it's such a stereotypical role.
People also start treating you like that. Like, for example, when you get that in the movies, like, people sometimes call me sister, and this, I hate that word. Yeah. Sorry, but I hate people calling me sister. Like, don't do that, sis. No, I just don't like it. And people start treating you like you're the sassy person also.
Yeah.
And I'm not sassy at all. I'm not sassy. I can be sassy sometimes. But
I've benefited from that as well often. I'm often perceived as a bitch, which it's sad because I'm a very nice person. But it's also, in a way, I've benefited from that because I often, when somebody does something that I don't like, I don't need to open my mouth. I just look at them and they look at me like, okay, she looks like a bitch, so I'm gonna fix it. So I benefit from them because I'm aware.
Yeah, you benefit sometimes, but other times I feel like don't treat me like that. Like, it's not
assume.
It's not assume. Yeah, it's not cool, but you benefit indeed. Yes. We benefit sometimes out of
it. Making the best out of a very shitty situation, right?
But for example, I've experienced it also on the workplace that I'm a very active person. I can be a very active person. I'm a very loud person as well, but I'm also I have my quiet moments. And often when I was quiet, it was perceived as me being angry. Me being
resting bitch face,
being short to people, quart off.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it definitely had that problem too, because people would give me tips of like maybe how to phrase an email differently. It was one colleague specifically who would keep giving me tips, and she would say, I know you didn't mean it that way, but when you send this word, try to use it in this way. And I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't mean it in that way at all. So I approached the person that I emailed and I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to come across that way. And they're like, huh, what do you mean? It was normal. I didn't think anything. And I was like, okay, so it's this one colleague who's projecting on me that I have to be extra nice and I have to be extra pleasant and docile, I guess, not to be considered sassy or mean
sassy
or
black, like
Oh, that's there. Never. Because I hate sending mail, and my mails are always super informal. Like if I ever send you a mail before, after that my mail will start with hi, da 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 da. And I will finish best Nash Caldera. That's it.
Nice, short and sweet, to the point.
Yeah, to the point. That's
I
it.
like short emails as well
Hey, or
because
hello.
I don't like looking for what they need in all of those nice cushions that they put around
And
it.
the
I just
sugar
need
coating.
them. Just at least if you're gonna do that, highlight the sentence that's important. That makes it easier
I
too.
hate being formal. I hate being professional. I hate all of that. Like,
Same.
just let me be me. And that's what I always tell people.
Yeah,
I rebel
but you know
against that, man.
You know what you going back to what you said. I know you didn't mean it that way. So next time, try it. I'm like, if you know I didn't mean it that way, then why are you correcting me?
Correct.
Because you know I didn't mean it that way. You know how I am, and it's something that it's often, it's a very thing that when you work here in an office here, and when you have an office job here in the Netherlands, it's something that you struggle with every day. It's something that I had to struggle every day. I remember having meetings every time, having to explain myself how I was not being sassy, how I was not being temperamental, simply calling someone out and being a professional about it. Like, you know,
Because if a white man were to say or do the exact same thing that we say or do, perfect. You know, they're just doing their job. They're actually very nice. But if we do it, then suddenly it's like, you have a little bit of an attitude.
Yeah, we should just talk about it and just actually not only talk about it, just start putting it in practice. But yeah, talking about it make it easier to start putting it in practice for sure.
That's the first step for sure.
Yeah.
Because acknowledging your own privilege as well, for example, if you're lighter skin or if you have a looser curl texture, all of that stuff, acknowledging that also opens the discussion to, okay, so in my case, this is something that I do benefit from, or maybe this is something that other people have made me feel like doesn't benefit me. And if people acknowledge or realize how other people benefit from certain things, for example, from being a man or from being white or from being straight, or the list just goes on of everything that you can benefit from. But if we start pointing those out and acknowledging, then you can also start to be like, okay, so me from this privileged position can do this and this and this to sort of level out the playing field. And if you can manage to use your privilege to level out the playing field, that's where the conversation really starts.
But that's all the questions we do need to be asking ourselves, and what, again, that's another system of how you benefit from the way you look. The more you lean towards the beauty standard, the more you're gonna gain from it. And I think that's the whole point as well, is to step away from all of that to make sure we all benefit in our own ways and are on the same playing field. That's the whole point, and that's the goal at the end of the day. Is level the playing field and make sure everyone gets what everyone should get from the system.
Alright, so that was such a good conversation that apparently we forgot to finish it or to end it in any proper way. But bloop, 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 a little bit of magic. This is what the outro is for. We're just gonna round it off here.
We're gonna get better at like rounding out our conversations, I guess.
With guests, it's not possible apparently, unless you guys wanted to listen to us babble in Papiamento. But we'll just leave that for a designated Papiamento episode.
Yes.
But this spot is always reserved for an artist, and we highlight artists, and it just so happens that we have 2 artists today, and you've been listening to them the entire time.
Yeah, and we just wanted to give a special shout out because they are our first official guests on our podcast, and I'm just so excited because, yeah, I
They're
want more
great.
guests,
And
and
we
I'm
love
so
them.
happy that they're the first ones. Yes. So yeah, as they have already introduced themselves at the beginning of the episode, we will just keep it short. But you can find Nash, who is a visual and performance artist, on Instagram. We will link all of their links down below. Down below. Am I on YouTube? But we will make sure that it's accessible for you to find it. And you have Melo as well. Melody, who is a graphic artist and the brand owner of Melolelo. And I think we both have her paintings hanging
Yeah.
in our on our walls at
Because
our,
they're awesome.
yeah. So go check her out on Instagram, Melolelo. Go check out her awesome brand, and hopefully you will be inspired to purchase stuff too, because it truly is really, I love her. I can't praise these women enough. So yeah.
It really was an honor to have them specifically as guests on this episode. So we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you will tune in the next time for our other episode. And yeah, if you have any feedback, if you have any questions, if you want to share your experience as well, don't hesitate to hit us up.
Yeah.
We love receiving your messages and your voice notes. It's really cool, and we love the conversations that
Yeah.
we end up having as a result of this.
Yeah. So yeah. See you next time. Love you. Bye.